Okay, by popular demand, tall man training tips. This, of course, the trainer you see now is Philip, who was one tough son of a gun, and recently he's been my training partner and I his, and I've made some incredible gains training with him. So the first tall man tip is if you're over 6'2" and I'm 6'4", and I know some of my friends out there on YouTube are 6'6", and you guys have got it the hardest. Do not, I repeat, do not seek a training partner who is tall. Do not seek a training partner who is the same height as you, or a similar height, or even taller. Find one of those short powerhouses like Philip here, and that's the guy you need to train with. So that's my first tall man tip, tall man training tip. Find yourself a short powerhouse training partner, because God is my witness, they're the only people who will be able to train with you. The majority of tall people are just not good trainers. They're not good bodybuilders, and that's a fact. The majority of tall men in bodybuilding just don't seem to be able to put mass on their frame, and I don't know what it is, but I'm glad I'm not one of them. And so I'm going to come now to the second training tip, and it's why I've put this footage here, the tall man training tip. And it is, if you watch the way Philip does his preacher bench dumbbell curls and the way I do them, there's a distinct difference. And hopefully you should see it now. If not, I'll tell you anyway. Nope, more narcissistic footage of myself. What you need to realize is when you are tall, you cannot get away with partial reps. You have to always use a full range of motion in almost all your movements, and full extension. So I would like you to compare the way I do a preacher bench dumbbell curl to the way Philip does them. And he does kind of almost partial reps, and you'll see it here when he does a preacher bench barbell curl, which we're doing here for our biceps. And now watch the way he does this. That's 68 kilos he's doing there. You see the way he does it? He's not cheating. That's the way his shorter arms benefit from curling. And you can see that by the biceps peak he has, which is no joke. It's one of his strongest attributes. And but as a tall guy, if you try and do them, for instance, the way Philip's doing them, you're just not going to get the results, and you'll probably end up like all the other tall guys, over 6'4", 6'6", even 6'2", who just can't get the development. Especially biceps peak. Do you know how rare biceps peak is on a guy over 6'2", coming up 6'4", especially? Now watch the way I do them. Absolute full range of motion, as much as I possibly can without snapping my elbow off. That's what you need to do. It doesn't matter if it feels like your head's going to explode, which I assure you when I was doing this, my head felt like it was going to explode. So that's what you need to do. So the second tall man training tip is a full range of motion and full extension all the time. Scream through the weight, whatever. That's what you need to do. And you need to do it when you bench, when you squat, when you press, when you do behind the neck presses. You see some guys doing behind the neck presses and they do partials. Lower the weight all the way down till it touches the back of your neck and press it back up. It's the way it works, and it's what I've found. That's how I've managed to put this much mass naturally on a 6'4" frame, and my height is 6'4" on the dot. That's not a round up, it's 6'4" on the dot. Again, watch the way Philip does his preacher bench machine curls here, and watch the way I do them. I should step into the frame now, and you should see a full range of motion, which I do religiously. I know you have to do it as a tall bodybuilder. I know it as a fact. See, as full extension as you can, without snapping your elbows in half. And you get some people who look at shorter guys sometimes and they say, yeah, he's not doing a full range of motion, he's not doing the movement properly, he's not actually curling or pressing the weight. Well, that's nonsense. They don't need to do a full range of motion, and in fact, they benefit more often from partials, that it stimulates the biceps more on a shorter arm to do partials. And it's the same when you kind of do sit-ups. You can do a full sit-up and get less of a burn than when you do a partial sit-up. And that also has to do with your genetics, with the way your midsection is put together. And I feel it's the same way when you're tall and when you're short. And you see it also when you're doing benching. When I bench with Philip, he can get away with lowering the weight sometimes partially and pressing it up. And I have to lower it all the way down to my chest and press it all the way back up. And that's the only way I can grow. If I do it any other way, I just don't get the results. And it's the same here. As you can see here with the preacher bench dumbbell curl, not a preacher bench. I'm actually using just a standard bench, and I've put it on an incline. And that's it's a good tip actually for you guys out there. I find it very good to just set up one of these benches and do dumbbell curls off them, and I find it fantastic. In fact, it's one of my number one things that I do for biceps peak. And I'll repeat again, a biceps peak on a tall guy, 6'6" and over, 6'4", sorry, and 6'6" and over is a very rare thing to see. And at the end of this video, there's a photo of the development that I've managed to put on my arm. And they used to say to me, you're never ever going to be able to build a peak, to build any significant mass on arms that long. And when I heard it, I thought they're right, you know. I'm kidding myself, but I live in defiance. I always live in defiance. My definition of determination is a display of defiance in the face of all defeating factors, everything you can throw at me, you'll never be able to do this, you'll never be able to do that, you can never do it without steroids, and I will do it, or I will die trying. And you can throw all the nevers, they can throw all the nevers at me that they want. I'm going to keep doing my thing, and I'm going to do it harder and harder and harder. And the more they push me, the harder I'm going to push. And I welcome all their naysays, because it just makes me stronger and much stronger. And as I was continuing on from what I was saying before, I've built a biceps peak, not only on an arm that long, and not only naturally, but on an arm that didn't appear, even after years of training, to have any inclination towards a biceps peak. And I trained it very carefully. Other exercises than you see here, because these in fact are not per se all of them my exercises, but Philip's exercises, because when you train with a training partner, you do their exercises. But fortunately Philip's a reasonable guy, and we say, okay, you call the next exercise, I'll call the next one afterwards. And that's what we do. So we mix each other's exercises up. And that's a good way to go about training with a training partner. And I can throw a quick training partner tip out here to tall guys who are then going to have a shorter training partner. And it's be careful. Whenever you have a training partner, a new training partner, remember that you're at risk of injury, no matter if they train harder than you or not. It's kind of the change in rhythm. Whenever you have a training partner, you are at risk of injury, so train carefully to begin with until you adapt to the rhythm of training with another training a training partner, basically. I'm used to training alone, so whenever I train with someone else, in the past anyway, I always got injuries. Because the pace changes, the rhythm changes, the exercises often change, the weights change, you often push each other to train harder, and me and Philip certainly do that. And you've got to be cautious. Unfortunately, I haven't got any injuries training with Philip recently, because I've kept that in mind from the beginning. And I've made fantastic gains training with Philip, and it's reinforced my conviction that when you're a tall bodybuilder, you need a short training partner, one of those short powerhouses. So that's an important tip. I've trained with guys a similar height to me, usually slightly shorter, but like 6'2" or something, and it's just set me back because I've been trying to help them along, you know, and having to go lighter or train easier, basically. And I don't need that. I need to train harder. I need a training partner who pushes me to train harder, because that's a difficult thing to do. And there it is. There's the biceps peak that I've developed on an arm that long, on a frame this tall, and naturally. and I'm happy with it, and I'm not going to be modest about it either. I don't need some other little moron out on YouTube to tell me that I haven't got that much of an arm or some nonsense like that. I'm happy with my development, and those are my tips for the tall man out there. You've got it the hardest. You guys out there, my friends out there on YouTube, 6'6", you guys have got it the hardest, so I hope this helps, and good luck with your training.